Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Do Nothing Project. Please let me know if you can hear me okay. I never know. Sometimes this mic doesn't seem to work. It's good to see all the people checking in on the side. I see Lauren and Andrew holding it down in the blue font. Thank you for that. So can you see me? Can you hear me? I'll assume a yes unless I see no in the comments. Okay, perfect. So Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Very happy to see the end of 2020. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Who knows what this year will bring. I missed last week. It was super nice to have Aaron do it, but I miss doing this every week. I like the idea of having different voices on here just to kind of habituate people to the different ways in which people approach and guide practice. Also give a platform for people who are starting out, guides who are starting out. And I really love doing it every week. So I'm happy to be back. I thought I'd say a bit about, I've been thinking about my intention for this Do Nothing project for the next few months in particular, which I expect are probably going to be hard. They're definitely, winter is upon us, and certainly there are many fewer freedoms than I've ever experienced in my life, and I expect that to be true over the next few months. So I really thought, been thinking that I really want to make this place a place of, it's already a place of simplicity and community. I want to make it even more about healing and peace and, sometimes in the DNP, we explore really challenging themes, which I think is very valuable. So that could happen in the next few months, but I'm going to really have more of a deliberate focus on some of the gifts, some of the mysteries that emerge and reveal themselves through practice. And I was thinking for the next month and a half or so of kind of each Sunday going through sequentially some of those mysteries. So what do I mean by mysteries? Well, among the many interesting things about meditation, among its many gifts, you could say, is the strange power it has to confer interestingness on things that seem ostensibly very boring. So things in our experience that we don't ordinarily spend much time paying attention to, when we get still and quiet, suddenly those things can become more compelling. And so the one we're going to explore tonight is this the experience of stillness in a practice, how that experience isn't only something that can really help us get concentrated, help us get absorbed, and ultimately quite stable and peaceful, but it can become this entire sort of inquiry in and of itself. The stillness itself can sort of open up and become this, I guess you could say, something we can explore. And without saying too much more about it, because you don't want to script people, you don't know how it's going to go. For me, it starts out as something I'm kind of interested in, and I'm looking at, I'm curious about, and more it just becomes something I am. Not just physically still, but the kind of emptiness inside that becomes sort of, it becomes closer and closer to who we are, I guess you could say. So hopefully I can make that apparent through the guidance. As always, if you have your own practice that you like to do, this is so much about community here. It's about just being a place where we can do this weird thing around sitting around doing nothing. So you're always welcome to do that and follow along with the guidance. Some of the other things we're going to explore in the weeks to come, we'll explore space, which is super interesting. We're going to explore silence. We're going to explore awareness, surrender. Again, we do that a lot. So these very simple orientations and principles in our experience that can start to open up and roll out in interesting ways. So this is the Do Nothing Project. These are variations on nothing whatsoever. Be very clear about that. And they're still fun to explore. So I guess what I'd say I would ask for all of you is if you have something you're really interested in exploring that feels very simple and healing and important to you, feel free to share it in the comments. I was thinking after we go through some of those mysteries, I want to go into what are called the Brahma Viharas, maybe for February or March, which are compassion, sympathetic joy, equanimity, um, um, loving kindness itself, and then some of those goodies and flavors, gratitude. So that'll be on tap as well. But if you have anything you're interested in exploring, or you want to, you're always welcome to kind of put a request in the comments or share with me over email, and I can try to integrate that here. It's good to be back. It's good to see all the names. Thanks for showing up. Now, let's do nothing whatsoever. 25 minutes of nothing. So it's 8:07. We'll be finished this inquiry into nothingness at 8:32. Okay, so if you're used to my guidance from either 10% happier or calm, those shorter 10-minute spurts, this is going to be a little longer, and it's an opportunity to go a little bit deeper into these explorations. So just setting yourself up with that recognition. Okay, I got 25 minutes. You can take a few breaths off the top. Think of the in-breath as the upward motion. So sort of breathing in, stretching up the spine, finding a bit of alertness. And then the out-breath, that's the downward motion, the settling as the diaphragm relaxes. So be deliberate here at the beginning, kind of doing a bit of a deliberate slow motion body sweep or relaxation sweep, starting with the forehead, seeing if there's any kind of worry lines or any tensions there that you can deliberately smooth out. You can kind of ride that down as you exhale, smoothing out the eyes and the cheeks and the jaw. Shoulders, hands, even the belly. The belly be soft. So this softness is, actually, that'd be another thing to explore. It's deliberate. When we have tension in our body, it can often translate into tension in the mind. We want to, as we let go of that tension, we make ourselves more available to everything that's happening. So, I mean, literally in the case of, say, sounds, if there's sounds around us we don't like, there can be this bracing or this bearing down, which can create tension. So this is our equanimity piece where we check in with this intention to stay open, to have this sort of welcoming, impartial attitude to all the sounds and sensations outside us, inside us. So that place of real permissiveness sets the tone for the whole practice here. And of course, there's this sort of edge writing piece where, I mean, what we're talking about is staying sort of relaxed through the body and open. But we're also alert. We have this straight spine. My friend Tasha had this beautiful metaphor for the way in which you sit. She said you can kind of imagine you're like a queen or a king or whatever your, gender preference for royalty, including gender non-binary. But the idea is that you're sitting with this sort of carriage of dignity and almost a kind of elegance in the way you're holding yourself, not arrogance, but just like you are honoring yourself. There's a kind of self-respect in that. And as part of that, of course, that translates into our how we respond to distractions, and we don't get down on them, we don't freak out. We get distracted. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that happened, and we come back to this seat. So some people like to sit right here. They just sit in this place of sort of open awareness, just being really and enjoying their own company, and your mind goes where it goes, generally not indulging thinking so much, but just sort of being in this aware space. And for others, it helps to have a home base. So some sound or sensation in your experience that can begin to settle you, that can, draw in some of the bandwidth of the thinking, pouring attention into the sensation of the breath, say, the soft breath at the nostril or in the belly, letting it just flow naturally. Or maybe another body sensation, feeling the air on your skin, the warmth in the hands, or maybe the sensation of the ground supporting you, below you. Just sounds too. You can get interested in sounds. So choose a home base if you're going to go that way, and then spend a little time kind of sinking into it. Good. So I'm patient here as things sort of get settled in their own time. Of course, if the mind wanders, you just, like the puppy on a leash, just kind of bring it back very lovingly back to your home base, or to just sitting. And even here at the beginning, we start to find this stillness quality, first of all, by deliberately being still ourselves, noticing that the more still we are, the more delicate our attention becomes, the more sensitive we become to noticing these softer, subtler registers. So you can already begin to get curious about the effect of getting still, not rigid, just still and quiet, and then noticing the softer parts of the breath, or the soft tingles under the sensation, or if it's sound you're working with. Kind of getting very, very still and noticing, seeing if you can notice the quieter parts of the sound. Letting all surrounding sounds just sort of float through and past you. Barking dogs, for example, not a problem. Another way to find stillness is the mind has a tendency to always get a little bit ahead, maybe anticipating the next breath, or, of course, even further afield, thinking about what's coming later. So, to counter this, we deliberately back up. It's like we're backing up with our attention as close as possible to the exact now, noticing this exact bit of sensation just as it's changing or as it's emerging into experience. Can you be that granular, that delicate? Again, the stillness in the body really helps. Say also notice if you're kind of leaning in with your attention, like it's your head looking down. Instead, can you kind of feel this from the inside, being the sensation as it comes up, even being the stillness? What is stillness in your experience? Where is stillness? What does it feel like? Not an intellectual question, an experiential one. How do you notice it? How do you experience it? And in the most delicate way, can you orient to it by being it? And again, sort of mindful of any tension or rigidity that comes in the system. See if you can be so equanimous, so open. There's no difference between the openness and the stillness. And just rest here. Of course, if the mind wanders, as it will, you just reconnect to the intention of the meditation and come back to your home base, to this inquiry into stillness. An easygoing way. Good. So, in the last 2 or 3 minutes here, nice to end with some kind of nurture positive practice. Thinking since it's the new year, this idea of embodying a particular quality that you want to come back into with a particular quality you want to embody right now might be feeling this quality of patience and just exuding patience, being patience, or compassion, or strength, or elegance, or gratitude. And one way this is done is practitioners sort of think about some embodiment of that, maybe like the statue of a Buddha embodying patience and wisdom, or the goddess of compassion, or it can be like you're thinking about a friend of yours who has a particular, salt of the earth quality that you really like, or someone else who's just deeply kind. And you just sort of imagine being that. Not the person so much, but the quality as experienced through that person, I guess, or as embodied by that person. So they call it deity yoga. So you're just like choosing the quality you want to be, and then you just practice sort of exuding the body language of it. So you could have a smile on your face, and maybe you're exuding having a sense of humor, or exuding friendliness. And we can stay with the theme of stillness too. Now you can just let go of that and just coast here for a few more moments. That was a whole bunch of nothing. Well, thank you. Happy anniversary. Happy earthly anniversary. That was interesting. I got totally altered there. That doesn't happen that often in a short sit. It's always the same thing with me with stillness. It's for some reason it's this very intense theme for me. I get super still in my body, and then it's like I can't really explain what happens, but it's like everything just suddenly expands, and I feel like I'm both the size of a grain of sand and like as massive as, a mountain at the same time. And I'm just like, and there's this exquisite tension between being very tiny and very big. It's very weird. My teacher Shinzen would call it simultaneous expand contract. I feel like but it's exquisite. It's like it's perfect middle line tension just between these things. You're just staying there. You're like, wow, this is dope. I don't know. It's just, I guess, a sign of being concentrated. But so always interested in people's reports. If people have something to share or a question. Christiana saying, really like the focus on the stillness. Nice. Hey, Marilyn. She said, I'm almost paralyzed. I know the feeling. Kind of had that. It can also be kind of a harder practice too if you're newer to practice doing a longer one like that. I mean, it's not always easy, that's for sure. I also want to give a shout out to Lily. I think Lily's here too. Thank you, Lily. I think she's hanging with my friend Therese Jornlin, who I'm hoping to get on DNP again. She's been on here before, but hope you guys are good. Okay, Mark saying gratitude for the daily trip. Nice. I'm glad you're liking it. Jen liked it. Courtney, thank you. Love the part at the end about exuding the quality we admire in someone else. Made me think of a dear friend who passed away who embodied simplicity. Good way to honor her. Nice. Yeah. I mean, traditionally that was like, I think they call it within tantric tradition, deity yoga. This is like a practice that the Dalai Lama does. He just sits around and just like becomes a god, basically builds an internal image of himself as this sort of golden shining statue of Buddha radiating love, but they do it very meticulously. Like they just build the whole inner schema and then just kind of become it. And it kind of points to the plasticity of the self-identification process that you can kind of build these qualities. And so this is sort of a more secular friendly version of that, where you can just take friends and people who, because there's something different about, it's one thing is saying, oh yeah, I want to connect to generosity. So another thing is saying, oh, I have a friend who's generous, and this is the way it seems, this is the way they seem in their bodies. Because we're embodied creatures. So you can, when you make it and you connect to a natural another body and find it in yours, it somehow can become more palpable. Okay, well, we got some good comments here. Boy, I'm not going to be able to read them all here, so I'm just going to kind of jump in. Fred saying this will be great to practice. We're in the season of stillness between the dark winter months and the pandemic. Yes, that's what I was thinking about. We're in the season of stillness, so let's do a lot of really simple, still, yummy things. Cindy saying stillness is the best. Thank you, Jeff. Tense peacefulness, don't get that often. Happy to hear. Phil, first time being here with everyone. Welcome, Phil. Holly, thank you for the calm contribution. Christina saying, yes, Courtney, I thought of my recently passed grandfather. Awesome. Stacy saying she experienced this expansion sensation. Jeff saying he was very still tonight. Chris channeling the Dalai Lama. See, Kent. Oh, hold on, a couple questions here. Where can I find the simplicity meditation featured on Calm yesterday? Simon, I don't know. I think you have to either, on the Calm one, you have to hit love, heart it to save it. Otherwise, it just gets swept away. So it'll probably be back, but unless someone has any other idea, I don't really know how all the stuff works there. Jeff, would you be able to talk a bit about the concept of no self and how that can work with a self-compassion practice? I'm sure it can, but it seems like it conflicts. Yeah. Well, what I can say about that is maybe bracket stuff about the concept of it. We could say that in our experience, there's times when we feel a lot of egoic thought, a lot of inner talk and a lot of sort of self-consciousness. And then there's times when that really can cool out. And you could say that's a kind of no self experience where there's not a lot of inner arising. You're just sort of completely present to the world. And what I find, and what a lot of contemplatives report, in pretty much every tradition, is that when you get really still, when you kind of get over yourself, so you're not in that contracted worrying about yourself, then what naturally emerges is often a very compassionate response, in this very natural way, not in some kind of big grandiose way, but it's like, now, this is a very interesting thing, like why that might be. Some people in the contemplative world would say it's because when you get down into when you boil off everything at the ground, there's just this fundamental kind of loving quality, and maybe that's true. Or it may just be that when you get really, really, really simple, the response of the human nervous system is this very generous kind of outpouring of caring. But I find that the more still and quiet I get, the less of me there is, the more the me that comes back is more compassionate. So I'd be interested in hearing other people's thoughts, but those are some words about that. Um, yeah, Lily's got some tips for Simon there about how that works in terms of the calm thing. Siobhan's finding also in an altered state, hard to type. Can't guarantee an altered state will happen, but why not if it does? It's interesting. It's altered, but it's not altered. It's just a different part of experience. Yeah, Andrew's got some good tips up there. Okay. Cool. Melissa enjoyed reflecting on patience after all that stillness allowed me to show compassion and how I've been impatient with myself. That's a good insight. Candace enjoyed the restfulness of the experience, non-striving, good medicine. Yeah. Rebecca just saying how much her newly found need for meditation has helped as a middle school teacher, helping me through current challenges a great deal. Happy to do it. Not just me. I mean, I've got Andrew and Lily and Milan, and there's these awesome people at Calm and the awesome people at 10% Happier. So there's like all these. I think it's cool that it's sort of like, at least through the apps, it's very much this sort of team effort of how to like channel as much helpful goodness in 10-minute segments as possible. I think it's a very good use of human creative energy. Okay. Yeah, Nicola said she felt the expansion and contraction. Yeah, so Lily's mentioning that tomorrow, 10% Happier, they're starting their self-compassion New Year's challenge. So if you're on the 10% Happier app, I know there's people kind of in both app worlds, but that's a terrific app too. And they have they've got this whole challenge, 21-day challenge start, which is, I find the challenges are great because it keeps me sitting every day. So I'll be trying to do it every day. I think you can friend me through it or something like that. Anyway, they have a whole thing on self-compassion, and I'll be doing a bunch of stuff for it. And Susan Piver, they're really great teachers. So you can check that out. Okay, what we got here? Gosh, lots of comments. It's good to see everybody. I love seeing all these names. Know your names. Robin liked the leashed puppy. That's a famous kind of metaphor. Who knows where it came from? Yeah. Okay. So Desiree is saying, anyone else notice a sense of panic, fear come up when they get very, very still? Doesn't always happen, but sometimes when there's no self, it seems like the ego freaks out a little. That is an amazing insight. I'm sorry you had that experience. It does happen sometimes, actually. I've had that experience too, where you get so still, it's almost like you're about to disappear. And then right before you disappear, your ego's like, I don't want to disappear. I like to control everything. And there can be this like kind of contraction, little seizure freak out. That can happen. So you're not alone at all. What I would say is if that if you find yourself doing that and that happens, or it's more like as you like stay in mindfulness as you get really really still, and just see if you can kind of notice what when that kind of starts, and stay with it a little bit, and then pull back into something more where you feel more resourced. But you can kind of, if you can stay with it, you can actually work right through that, and you can come out to the other side, and that can often be an extremely big insight experience if you can stay equanimous through that kind of that that contraction, that worry. People have actually classic sort of no self experiences through that. So it's very interesting that that's happening. To me, it suggests that, I don't know if you have a lot of experience as a meditator or you're just what they would call ripe, but that is it's sort of an advanced experience. So hope that puts it into some context. Not that it needs to happen. It doesn't. Most people, it doesn't happen that way, but it can happen like that. Um, um, okay, wow, lots of comments. Jack, thoughts on transcendental meditation? I don't really know it, other than people love it. A lot of people really like it. It's a mantra-based practice. You're just repeating a mantra, and no doubt there's other practices within that kind of culture. I think it's. I think you should try anything that comes up. Just kind of try it out and see how it lands. They can be really good for mantras in particular. Can be really good for getting absorbed and concentrated, both because that think part of the thinking mind is actually in the mantra, so you're using your internal talk to repeat the mantra, which can kind of suck up some of that thinking, and it can get just very blissful and joyous. So if you have an opportunity to explore in that tradition, you can check it out. It's kind of, I mean, there's some weird things about the culture of it, but I say you just kind of find out for yourself. Okay. Okay, PJ's got a suggestion for you, Desiree, about something called Backdraft. Look up Chris Germer on YouTube. I might check that out too. It sounds cool. Wes, almost a feeling like you're about to fall. Yeah. Yeah, it's like that thing where you get a sleep onset where you're falling asleep and suddenly you have this little like twitch thing. It's like that, but it's like an existential twitch. Okay, friends. It's good to see everybody. Um, I am going to cruise. I heard my little guy crying, and my wife went up there to check him out. So I'm just going to go and join her, make sure everything's cool. Very happy to be in this community. Happy to be back. Looking forward to doing these over the next few months, and got to stay together. Wishing you the best of luck in the next week. I'll see you next week. Thank you, Andrew.